Even as March began, Russian forces had not abandoned their plan to seize Kyiv. They continued to send reinforcements one after another, replenishing their combat power. However, north of Kyiv lay vast wetlands and narrow roads. Russian forces poured troops into this area without adequate planning, which only deepened the confusion. On March 2nd, Russian forces advanced along the Zhytomyr-Kyiv highway, pushing further south in an attempt to encircle Kyiv from the west. The Russian Air Force repeatedly conducted airstrikes on surrounding areas, seeking to disrupt Ukrainian troop deployments. On March 5th, Russia's westward advance was halted at the village of Kyiv. At the same time, part of the Russian force crossed the river toward the northern Kyiv village of Moshin. On March 6th, Russian forces launched a large-scale offensive against Moshin. Ukrainian units were unable to hold their positions and withdrew toward the center of the village. Russian forces then constructed four additional pontoon bridges across the Irpin River. On March 8th, Ukrainian forces diverted water from the Kyiv reservoir into the Irpin River. The water level rose by 2 meters, hindering Russian crossings. However, large Russian formations had already completed their crossing. They broke through Ukrainian defensive lines, and the defense of Kyiv entered a critical phase.
Moshun is at its limit. We should retreat. Hold your ground! Losing Moshun means losing Kyiv.
General Siersky committed all available reserves to the Moshun sector. The fate of Kyiv now rested on the Battle of Moshun. March 9th, a new threat emerged east of Kyiv.
Enemy forces approaching from the east consisted of 2 tank divisions and 2 tank brigades. Even assuming only half of their full strength, that meant approximately 300 tanks and over 1,000 armored vehicles. Meanwhile, our forces were fully committed to stopping the western assault and leaving us in an extremely difficult position to reallocate troops. To counter this, we will demolish all bridges across the Dnipro River within Kyiv and conceal artillery units in the southern hills to intercept the enemy.
We have to abandon the eastern side of Kyiv.
In preparation for a breakthrough, Ukrainian forces had already placed explosives on Kyiv's bridges. The eastern side of Kyiv is open flatland, offering almost no terrain suitable for effective defense. With Ukrainian forces fully focused on resisting attacks from the west, it seemed impossible to counter the overwhelming numbers of Russia's elite armored formations advancing from the east.
Wait, if we use the firing system I developed, that combines drones and artillery, we can repel them. Let my 3rd Battalion and volunteer forces engage the enemy outside the city!
Your system is impressive, but we don't have time. How will you obtain enough drones? Who will operate them? Share information with the volunteers. We lack time for training, and we lack communication equipment.
We will donate all 20,000 drones owned by our shops to the military.
Leave hobby drone piloting to us. We won't lose to the adults.
Our company's programmers are developing a dedicated app. We'll make sure everyone can download it to their smartphones before the operation begins.
This may allow us to block the powerful Russian advance. We will extract available forces and reinforce the outer defenses.
With civilian cooperation, Ukrainian forces barely completed preparations to defend eastern Kyiv in time. An extremely uneven battle was about to begin. Elite armored forces versus a handful of soldiers and civilians.
Enemy convoy confirmed. Live streaming on the app channel.
We've intercepted enemy radio communications.
Confirm the broadcast.
Enemy positions are visible on the app. Wait until they are fully committed before opening fire.
The enemy vanguard has entered the Skyvin district.
Begin the attack!
Attack, sir! What? Artillery fire!
We're hit!
Why are their artillery strikes so accurate?
We're too tightly packed, we can't move! The regimental commander is down! Retreat!
Other units attempting to enter via different routes met the same fate. Units that tried again days later met the same outcome. Through drone observation, artillery systems, and smartphone-based information sharing, Ukrainian forces achieved astonishing accuracy and devastating ambushes, destroying Russian vehicles. Russian forces defeated at Govory withdrew east of Kyiv. Ukrainian forces then expelled Russian troops from Moshin. As Ukrainian counterattacks intensified around Kyiv, Russian forces already short on supplies began looting civilian homes. In late March, the Russian government abandoned its plan to capture Kyiv and ordered surrounding forces to withdraw. However, many Russian units remained until directly attacked, continuing abuse and looting of civilians. In response, Ukrainian forces launched operations to liberate occupied villages. On April 1st, Ukrainian volunteer unit, Bratstvo Battalion, began an operation to retake the village of Novobasar. The plan involved secretly infiltrating the village center with a tank, then ambushing Russian forces at an intersection as they withdrew after shelling. At the time, Russian forces numbered approximately 1,000 soldiers. Bratstvo battalion consisted of just 9. During the occupation, villagers had been confined to basements and shelters. During the liberation, people huddled together in hiding, continuing to pray. Russian forces, which had maintained a meaningless occupation, were driven out one village after another. Thus, Ukrainian forces liberated the villages around Kyiv from Russian control. The crisis of the capital's fall had passed. However, the Russian government shifted its strategic objectives from controlling all of Ukraine to occupying the eastern and southern regions. Retreating forces were redeployed to the east, and a new offensive was planned. Ukraine's long war had only just begun.